And let's break down those auto tariffs now in effect. The 25% tax applies to all cars imported into the United States. President Trump says the new levies are meant to promote investment in homegrown automakers and factories. Mexico is the largest source of auto imports into the United States, sending 2.5 million cars to U.S. dealerships. Canada ships more than 1 million, and nearly 4 million vehicles come from countries like South Korea, Japan, and Germany. An imported car with a value of $40,000 US will now be levied with a $10,000 tax, and that is just the beginning. Tariffs on imported auto parts are also set to come into effect on May 3rd. For more on all of this and the impact of these auto tariffs, I'm joined now by William Lee. He's chief economist at the Milken Institute. Such a pleasure to have you on, sir. Thank you. So 25% tariffs on imported autos now in place. Duties on parts go into effect May 3rd. Trump says the move will spur investment. What's your take on all of that?
Let's remember why it is that President Trump put this last round of tariffs up. He calls them because of the need for reciprocity. He wants to level the trade playing field. And for Donald Trump and the administration, it's not just the tariffs that American exporters face, but it's also non-tariff barriers like quotas, legal restrictions, regulations, and other things that make it difficult for Americans to sell products there. So he put up a barrier and said, look, we're going to keep you from enjoying the U.S. market unless you do something on your side. And something means something serious, which is why he said, initially they said everything's non-negotiable unless you're really serious about making a significant move. And I think that's really the purpose of this whole tariff strategy, which is to say we need a new international trade framework. And more importantly, with our major trading partners, China, the EU, Canada, and Mexico. He is very clear that what we want is to be able to increase the number of jobs here in America. And in order to do that, he wants to have a package, including tariffs, but also smaller government, lower taxes, fewer regulations, and incentives for foreigners to invest in the United States. You invest here, you produce and give us jobs, you will have the benefit of lower regulations, lower taxes, a great marketplace, and a tariff barrier to protect you. But if you want to be a competitor, you're going to face a tariff barrier. So that's really the trade-off that he's offering to every country in the world. And naturally, we see a lot of posturing right now by political leaders saying, oh, we're not going to let an American president push us around. But I think they recognize the value to their home country companies of being able to sell in the United States. And I think eventually they'll come and realize raising tariffs against the United States is a very stupid thing to do, because all President Trump does is raise our tariffs even more. The rational thing to do is lower tariffs by everybody.
Yeah, well, Trump has made it very clear that this is an opening salvo, inviting countries to come to the table and start negotiations. But at what cost? Let's talk about the consumer impact, first of all. If these stick, even short term, how much does it affect the price of new and used car sales, and frankly, car insurance for that matter, when it comes to parts repairs?
Yeah. Actually, everyone is saying we're going to have to raise prices because we don't have enough profit margins to absorb these tariffs. Do you recognize that for the last several years, companies now have the highest, largest operating profit margins in the last 5 years? So they actually do have a lot of margin. The question is, can they operate in a way that doesn't pass costs on to consumers? Well, how much will consumers bear? I think the usual estimates that most economists have is that about a quarter of the tariff increase gets passed on to consumers, and that's if the prices stick. If consumers say, "Look, I don't have the money to, and I can't afford this product. I'm going to look for a cheaper product, one that's made in the United States," then they're going to not only not be able to sell their stuff, but they're going to lose their customer. So a lot of companies will recognize they need to lower their tariffs, their prices because of our tariffs, or the exchange rate changes, right? The countries might face such a difficult problem that they're going to have to let their currencies change in order to compensate for the U.S. tariffs.
So you're saying that automakers have bandwidth to absorb some of these costs, but we're already seeing an immediate response from some. Volkswagen, for example, saying it will begin implementing an import fee on imported vehicles added to the sticker price. No date on when that's going to be affected. But Stellantis also, you heard it, halting production for now at its Ontario plant in Mexico as well.
I can say I have a car, a Toyota Camry, and I'm going to charge you $100,000 for it. Are you going to buy it? No. And I can say any price I want, but the real price, the price that the transaction take place. And the actual price is going to be whatever the customer and dealer negotiate. So I think there's really a lot of bargaining room there. And you can initially put up whatever price you want, but the key is what is the transactions price. No doubt the transactions prices will be higher tomorrow than they will be today, but what will they be 3 months from now, 4 months from now, a year from now? That's really key. If the production starts to shift to the United States, there'll be much more supply of domestically produced cars to compete with those cars that have tariffs on them.
But how long do we have to wait for this production to shift? It doesn't happen overnight.
Actually, plants can. You already see the Windsor plants being shut down by Stellantis. You already see a desperate search for more capacity in the United States to produce more automobiles. So they're already doing this, and I think certainly we're talking maybe weeks to months in order to shift some of this production to avoid tariffs. But the key is, will the countries lower their tariffs against U.S. products? Because once they do, the tariffs are gone. Once they lower their tariffs, our tariffs are gone. Once they lower the non-tariff barriers, our tariffs are gone. And those non-tariff barriers are the key to success in this negotiation.
All right, fascinating conversation. We will leave it there. William Lee, thanks so much for your time.
Thank you for having me.